podcast.
It's very good. Hello, people. Welcome to Creative Theory Podcast, a show that brings you conversations with visual artists about how they got to where they got, what their day-to-day is like, what their struggles are, thoughts on the art world, and a lot more. Coming at you live from Vancouver, BC, Canada, Save on Radio. Today in studio, I'm really excited. We got a special guy all the way from Argentina, but now living in Vancouver, illustrator, animator. His work, he's been working in animation industry for over 10 years, and lately has been transitioning into illustration. Well, not even transitioning, he's been doing a lot more illustration lately. His clients include Apple, New Yorker, CNN, Refinery 29, just to mention a few. No big deal, really no big deal. Sebastian Curi, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks.
How do you like that intro? Was it pretty accurate?
That was amazing.
I didn't
it
mention.
sounded better than.
I should have mentioned that also lived in LA for a while.
Yeah, we live. We moved to LA like 3 years ago with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I got an offer on a production company working for just like an animator.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Yeah, it's such a big city. Buenos Aires is a big city, but LA is huge. It was interesting. Yeah.
And then now you're in Vancouver, so like the journey just continues.
Yeah, we didn't know, but we really like to travel. we actually love it. We still trying to figure out what is the best way to live abroad, to have a good balance with family, mixing that, and just working, where to work, or how like visas and like just. It gets a bit complex, but we really love to live in a city for 6 or 8 months, and I would say even more. I think LA was like 2 years, and Vancouver is gonna be a year and a half.
Okay, nice. So you planned out the amount of time that you want to stay here, or you just kind of?
Yeah, we are always planning.
Okay.
Yeah, you always have to plan because of the visas. So
okay, of course, yeah.
And I don't know. We just want to be ahead, and we usually don't have. In the United States, we have different visas, so we have to plan really ahead because my schedule was different to her schedule, and now we have same visa, so that's way better.
So travel first, art second.
Yeah.
Nice.
Visa first, I would say, and whatever after. Yeah.
He's like, as long as they'll let you in. So I met you just recently at your studio, and I thought
we have a studio now. Yeah,
there you go.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Oh, no, but I wanted to ask you. So you've been working digitally quite a lot. Is this your first time actually having a separate space for your art?
Yeah, I think this one feels different because I started working in studios, just like TV production companies and then like motion graphic studios and that kind of stuff. And then I went freelance and I started working at home, but it was terrible. And it is. If you ask any freelance, it's gonna go terrible. And then I started to share with some friends.
Yeah.
So we have this kind of co-working space, but just with friends, and it was a small apartment. And we worked there for 2 years, and then I started to work again on studios in this LA production company. But then I started to do illustration more. And when we came here to Vancouver, I was working with another production company, but I was really into illustration. And I always hired by these production companies to do animation because my portfolio mainly was for like direction of animation and 3D animation and all that stuff. But I was building this other portfolio as an illustrator. And at some point, it kind of grew so much, and I was really into that we decided with my wife, okay, I'm going to be an illustrator. Let's try it.
You had her blessing?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she was really bored. It's hard to switch careers, Sometimes it's like, okay, but you don't know how to draw. What are you gonna do? So it took me a couple of years to make the switch, but now I'm really happy. It's really going well. And
Well, what you're creating is beautiful, and it's impressive. And I think it's really hard to imagine that you only switched a couple of years ago. You said from animation to
Well, I feel if
full
you
illustration.
if you work, well, I work a lot on animation, and you are surrounded by a lot of designers, and then you learn some of that design. I studied graphic design also years after starting to work, and then I started to do art direction for branding. So it wasn't illustration related, but it has a lot of basics of principles, like of design. And then the company that I work in LA, they were mainly design and animation company. They were doing a lot of illustration and just animation. So I was surrounded by a lot of illustrators, like really, really good illustrators.
Nice.
I
soaked it
kind of
in.
got in. Yeah, I was like, okay, this is way better than what I'm doing. I don't want to move keyframes. I want to just to draw. Yeah.
And just to clarify, you were primarily doing 3D animation, right? Or was it both?
I have kind of like a weird profile because I studied post-production in Argentina, so like very technical stuff. And then I needed a job, and I got one doing assistant of to do like edition, like TV edition. I was putting scripts together and that kind of stuff. And then they needed some kind of end tag or like small piece of branding for this like small TV program, and I did that, and that went well, and that was I had more freedom, like, hey, you do whatever you want.
Can you just make
for
something
this.
for the
yeah,
end?
just that kind of stuff, and they really like it, and I started to do that kind of stuff. So it was like, okay, I prefer this to all this technical thing that I was learning on my university. So I dropped out. I started to work. A lot of years after, I started to really work on motion graphics.
So it was not even intentional. You kind of by accident found
it. It was really by accident. I think I was like too young maybe, or was really lost. I didn't know how to do what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. The industry is so different also, and I felt so young. So yeah, before I started journalism.
Wow.
Yeah, I started a year of that. You didn't work. I was really lost. Yeah, and then I started this post-production thing. It was kind of on the area. It's kind of I love film. I love animation and design. So it was closer. And then when I started to work and I saw what it was, like an art director, what it was an animator. How the industry puts you, what are your role, and those kind of stuff. I always work really hard, so I grew in every position. I started to work as a 3D generalist, I think, and then I started to do lead post-production.
Nice.
So then I jumped to art direction, and then it was just like, it really depends on the structure that you have around.
Yeah.
But if you just build hierarchy, and you start to be like a kind of like a project manager with some kind of art direction role or animation role, and I felt it grew naturally, but it was pretty accidental.
Wow.
Yeah.
But is your personality? Are you always trying to reach higher, like the way you're saying as you're rising? Is it just kind of natural to you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I love to see beautiful animation and really good design, and sometimes I can see my stuff and it's not as good. So I try to push that, in some direction to be better. And when you work in this small studio, I usually been working in small studios like 10 people or 12 people. Sometimes, even if you are the guy that wears many hats and you do a lot of stuff, you can do, or you can try to push harder. And I don't know, I just like, if it's gonna have my name, I like to present something that is good. So sometimes I was doing a 3D animation, like motion graphic stuff, and then the post-production, it was kind of bad. So I was like, okay, maybe I could try that, and I started to do After Effects, composition.
So you just learn everything.
Then
everything you had to, you just picked it up.
It's you have YouTube, tutorials. Andrew Kramer, Nick Campbell. I started to learn different programs. and softwares and.
See, but the difference is everyone has YouTube. Not everyone knows how to do this. You do. So you have something where like you
Oh
actually.
yeah, you have to put your time. Yeah. That's the hard part. But it's there.
Yeah. Well,
You have to Google. Yeah.
You're more determined than other people. That's really cool. How do you remember how quick you got to the art direction position?
Oh, it was super slow.
Super
Was really
slow?
slow.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say it was like 8 years or something like that.
But did you want to get there?
Oh yeah, I really wanted. I was pushing super hard.
Okay.
At that time, I work on a lot of small production companies until I got a job in a studio called Plenty.
Okay.
And at that point, I was really into, those like C4D, 3D stuff, like set designs,
Yeah.
and I really like that. And there was this guy called Pablo Fide that was creating this new studio, and it was super exciting. I was like, wow, this studio is the best. I was really into that, like a groupie.
Yeah.
And we started to talk, and I was just, like a young professional, and I was really into that. So I sent a lot of emails, and my portfolio was
Just
really
kept annoying them.
yeah, my portfolio was really bad. But at some point, they needed someone, like a lower animator kind of thing. And I just put together some stuff. I went, I have an interview, and they completely rejected me. But they said, your energy is kind of cool, you really want to do this stuff, you're really into this. And if you are so into this, so maybe you could be better, you could grow, you're gonna learn from us. So let's talk in the future. And a year after I got a job there, just doing animation, whatever they wanted to do with me. I think I worked 4 years on that company, and the last year I was an art director. So
Nice.
that was cool. Yeah.
And then for you, I'm always just curious when artists who like clearly hands-on artists get into art direction, unless it's different in a smaller studio, were you still making a lot of work like as an art director, or was it a lot more reviews? Did you?
Yeah, this was in Buenos Aires, so I feel that you do your job and you do kind of the rest of the stuff that is not working,
Okay.
and that's a good work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was doing art direction, and sometimes we didn't have a great animator, so I was like, okay, just you're
That's
gonna
amazing.
help
Yeah,
me, so I'm gonna do the animation, and you just give me a I don't know, like a team of 2 people, and if I have this lead, that would be great because he can take that part, and if not, well, just give me a bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like Latin American way to do stuff. You just try to solve it. And yeah, I was more into art direction. I wasn't so good. So I think the owners of the studio were like, okay, we're gonna give you this project. You're gonna art direct it, but you're gonna do the animation. And you're
Just to
gonna
be safe, you're gonna
just
do
to be
both.
safe. You're gonna do the animation, and we're gonna help you to do art direction. And that was kind of.
That's cool that
the
they
thing.
help you though. I think getting the opportunity to learn on the job.
It
is
was
huge.
amazing.
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't realize how hard it was to switch because within these 4 years, I went for. I started to be like a 3D animator, like really
Okay.
hard 3D animator. I went for a lead 3D animator. I was one of the leads animators there, and then I was like, hey, I don't like this. What if I do post production? Because I have the background and we don't have anyone doing this, and we just need it. So I started new like post production stuff, and I became the lead of like a post production lead. And then we grew a lot on that area. And when we have another kind of like a team around that, I was like, hey, like I'm not feeling I'm not feeling this. I would love to be an art director. And they were like, what again? And I was like, yeah, sorry man, but I really would love to. Yeah, and I got bored. I really felt like that, Sometimes you work on this big project, like 6 months doing the same, like 80 pieces or 100 pieces for whoever. And sometimes just your job that was so exciting is not anymore. It's like, like, I don't know, meat and potatoes.
I like how your solution is to just change the job, just do something else.
But it really worked. It really, well, at least for me, it was like, okay, this is new and exciting. I'm not as good, but it's super exciting, I don't know if it happens with you, but now that I'm doing illustration, I'm not as good as I was like a 3D animator, but I feel that everything is new, you know,
Yeah.
and every new, I don't know, artist that I can find, it's like, wow, this is new, this is really great. Or I don't know, I bought a lot of books from Pushpin, Milton Glaser,
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of like Paul Rand, like big designers or big illustrators, and that was new for me.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to find new stuff when you work, I don't know, like 10 or 20 years, I suppose, on
Totally.
the same stuff.
You have to really search for it because it's easy to just be in that bubble, right? Or it's easy to not expose yourself to a lot of that work. And ideally, I guess we should be exposing ourselves to different work even outside of our industry or interest too. But it takes effort. You have to seek it out, I think.
It takes a lot of effort, yeah, but it makes your job easier, I feel. I am always really into, you know, whatever I am doing, and even if it's a commercial job, I'm like, okay, this is first mine, and I have to like it. The client's gonna like it, you know, but I have to like it, and then we could propose, you know, this stuff to the client to see if they think it's cool.
And were your art directors of studios always cool with you?
Really
no.
No.
How much of a battle was that?
That's a struggle, you know, but that's kind of the job for me, you know, like if you are in the studio, you have to make every part work, you know, and sometimes you have, I feel that I left, of course, the studio, and I felt that at some point I didn't have like amazing proposals, but they were kind of like proper, you know, and they were mine, and I was like really proud about that. And I was like, okay, I know that this is not the studio, you know, but and graphic design studios or motion graphic studios, they sell style, so style is a big thing.
Definitely.
If you're gonna put something out there, it should be well thought, you know, and well designed, and it's gonna be your face and kind of everything. So my stuff was like a alternative to that. And I was like, dude, it's a cool alternative. We could do this. And they were like, no, I don't know.
Like, you're too underground.
Yeah, it's too weird. You know. And we're like, okay, this is fine. Maybe this is not proper for this studio, but it could be great for my freelance stuff. So, you know, I'm gonna try it.
And here you are in the freelance world.
And it's and it's way better. You know, sometimes I've been working so much in these studios, and so every studio is a different structure, and they work differently, even if they are in the same industry. Just different countries, they have different industries, and even different pieces, you know. And the industry also changes. In Latin America, we work a lot for branding TV, and now when I went to the West Coast, they were working mainly for advertising, but now, or like 4 years ago, they changed that to work for tech companies, and everyone works for.
That's where the money is.
And it's gonna keep changing, I suppose, but also change your job. You know, like I was really into, when I went to LA, I was really into 2D animation because I was switching again. Of course. And I really like this kind of like very minimal designs where you just like snap, do transitions and all that. Here in Vancouver, there is a like amazing animator called Jorge Canedo. I don't know if you know it. And he was like amazing at that stuff. And I was like trying to do the same stuff that he was doing. And they started to do like 100 projects for Apple. And they were all, and it was great.
That's insane, man.
But then the first one it's insane. The second one is like, okay, cool. The third one, the number 100 is like, okay, I'm getting, you know, and it feels just for me that it was kind of like the same repetition, you know, and the same routine.
You're just getting paid.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it exciting.
Well, after 100 for sure. But so did you teach yourself 2D animation?
In Buenos Aires, there is no. Well, I'm not sure. I didn't know any good place to study animation. So when I studied post-production, I had like 3 months of After Effects, but it was more towards composition. And then when I studied graphic design, they just don't teach you any software. They teach you the universe of graphic design, and the basic principles, but no one opens like, okay, this is Photoshop, like I don't know, Command A, whatever. So all that stuff you have to learn it on the side. YouTube, like
that's what it comes down to.
there are a lot of people doing. Now I feel you have a lot of platforms that you could study motion graphics or
Totally.
animation, character animation. I don't know. It's really good, but I feel 6 years ago, I think I did every tutorial that Andrew Kramer did.
Okay.
So that guy is amazing.
He got you jobs, basically.
Oh yeah. My first one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I switched to C4D because everyone was doing 3D.
It's really
Grayscale
big.
Gorilla was my stuff. So I learned from them. It was like, okay, I had to learn this program. I don't remember who I learned from to do Nuke, because Nuke was like this weird.
That's a render engine, right?
No, Nuke is like a post-production software.
Okay.
You do layers. It's like it's not by layers.
Is it for
It's by
compositing?
nodes.
Oh,
It's
okay.
compositing.
See,
Yeah.
I should know this because people at
Such a
work use it.
weird program, dude. It was.
Yeah.
It took me so. I'm not like a fast learner, and it took me like a year and a half to be able to compose.
Also,
Compositing.
I don't
Yeah.
believe you that you're not a fast learner. See, you're just like listing off all the things you've learned over these
Oh, but
years.
it's so many years. Like 10 years.
It's impressive, but I think it's so cool that
or
you're able
more.
to teach yourself something that then gets you your job. That's real learning. That's like where you learn and then you have to put it into practice and see if you actually learn stuff. And clearly you did.
It is. Well, I feel. Well, maybe I
It's
don't know.
impressive. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think the studios that I work, they kind of take it really naturally. Like the first time that I worked on this nice studio called 20, I remember the animation director came to me and said, okay, we're gonna animate these hands for I think it was like a Discovery Channel thingy, like a 5 seconds bumper, whatever, like a really small piece. And I was like, I don't know how to rig anything. And he was like, you're gonna learn, whatever. This is the tutorial, just learn it.
Nice.
And that kind of approach was really harsh at the beginning, because you don't learn. It doesn't work like that. It's not like magic, like I know Kung Fu. But yeah, it's not like that. But at some point, it's kind of like that. It's like, okay, I can maybe open the program and try something. And at some point, you learn so many different just programs that you kind of know how they should work.
Totally.
So you could switch.
But also, I think you've learned how to learn. Like you've learned how to teach yourself. I think the more you do that, just in general,
your expectations are more realistic. So it's like, okay, maybe in 6 months I could learn this at night, or even people. Like sometimes you work with 5 people. They work in different softwares, and you just chat over lunch. Like, hey, like I really don't understand this B-rate thingy. And he was like, okay, it's not so hard. Like I could teach you, and that helps a lot. Also, a lot of friends teach me stuff.
And it's a good way to get yourself excited to learn. There's a bunch of people at work learning Blender right now.
Yeah.
And so, you're just seeing everyone.
It's so hard, dude. When I started to do 3D, Blender was free. I don't know if it's open and free.
Yeah.
But it was so weird. It was really weird.
The controls.
The
were
UI,
weird.
yeah, the controls.
So the 2.8, the one that's just come out recently,
Yeah.
they fixed all that stupid stuff. So
Wow.
and you just get all the fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, the approach that Maxon has with C4D, and it's so easy and approachable. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And I guess you have you seen? I think is it Beeple? Like he's probably using a lot of Cinema 4D.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that guy's pretty crazy. I think
That was amazing. He does like one thing a day.
Yeah. He's a wizard. But like seeing him and the quality that he gets after a certain point, but that's why I think once you understand the software and you understand the plugins, you could do so much so quickly once you know.
Yeah, and also 3D, I feel you start to work with your own library and your own assets. So the first day is very hard because you have to create everything 100%. But then 2 years after, you have a huge library of stuff and ways to do and setups and blah blah. So it becomes really easier. Yeah.
To me, what you're saying about kind of getting bored and moving to one thing, and you're asking, like, if that happened to me, one thing I find sometimes is it can be hard to let go almost completely and take on a new thing. So, for example, for you, is it difficult in your mind, in your mind, sir, to abandon 3D and just go into illustration, or abandon animation and just go into illustration full on and work as an illustrator?
Well, it's really hard to. Yeah, it's really hard because first you have to show that you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to create a portfolio, and then that takes so much time, you know.
Yeah.
And if you work in a studio, you have to create a portfolio on the side, so it's at night. So that was really hard. But then at some point, you kind of, you're older, so you have I suppose like a smaller, bigger name, you know, and people is like, okay, you maybe, if you say it, you know, you've been working 8 years on this, so if you could do it, I'm gonna respect your decision. Maybe you're crazy, but
they test you.
And it was better. At the last studio that I worked, or the last two, I felt it was easier to do that transition. But also it really depends on the moment. You know, some studios they really have needs and like kind of goals, and maybe those goals doesn't fit your goals. You know, so it's like I want to do art direction in, I don't know, for illustration. I want to be like mainly an illustrator and to create a beautiful illustration. I want to do like I don't know, like a minute movie with character design, something like that. And they're like, okay, but we are into games. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, we are gonna, I don't know, develop content for apps.
Yeah.
So UI, motion graphics, it's amazing, but character design is not so cool now. Or you know, it depends on how they're gonna proceed. I suppose the business side and all that. And it's like, okay, it doesn't matter how good I'm gonna be. It's just they don't know into.
Yeah. No, but personally for you though, I'm just trying to understand, because for example, you said you did post production and then you were bored and you just did and started doing the next thing. Did you feel like you're done learning this one thing and you just kind of wanted to learn something else? What I'm trying to say that, for example, if you
I think I get it. Yeah. Well, I think it's a bunch of things together. You know, it's kind of like a complex thing. One is that in order to create a piece and a whatever movie, you need to put a lot of stuff together, and that has like design and animation, storytelling, and 100 stuff. So sometimes you need a team of people, or sometimes you just need to learn everything. and I feel that if you want to be a director, you kind of have to know how to do everything, not like the mechanism of everything, you know, but how to, like, the rules of everything. And I approach my job like that. Okay, I'm gonna try to be a better director, so I need to know how to design. So I went to graphic design school and I started to do art direction, that kind of stuff. But then now, I think I was. Now what happens that I'm aware that I'm not as good. I'm like, okay, I can't do the most beautiful animation because I don't have the tools, I don't have the budget. Myself, I'm not as good, and it's impossible to create, to put together a team to do that. So I was like, okay, what I could do, you know, to keep me interested on the subject, you know, and every day what I'm gonna do. And I started to do these drawings that were a bit weird, but they were kind of like funny for me. And Instagram was there, so I just put stuff on Instagram, and people kind of like started to say, hey, you know, maybe there were likes or something, but it was kind of growing in me, and at some point I got some commissions, and I started to go into, I don't know, every day for me was more checking motionographer and, I don't know, Stash TV or animation sources of inspiration. And at some point that kind of was like, okay, I already saw this space, you know, or you can see the flaws of something, and you don't see how good it is, you just see how bad it is. And I became like so negative around that. Yeah, it was really hard.
But specifically animation or the illustration? Or everything that you saw on motion?
Everything. Sometimes you you can split, like, okay, this is really good design, really bad animation,
Yeah.
or the inverse, like bad design, bad design, good animation is really hard. But
Yeah.
it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to do something good with the base or something bad.
Yeah.
But then illustration was so new for me that I couldn't see any flaws really. I
Wow.
was like, okay, this is really nice. And also, I don't know, I feel that it you are permitted to have a bigger voice on illustration, you know.
Yeah, well, because you're creating the initial look and idea,
Yeah.
right? Because as an animator, you may not always be creating the assets you're working with, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to portray that style as an animator or to be the owner of the piece. Hey, like I have this vision, I would love to follow this kind of path, and they are, well, we could do that, but your director says
Yeah,
blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah, but I wanted to do this, kind of that stuff. And then, yeah, no matter how big you get, or maybe if you are amazing, that's great.
just
But I
let you-
feel, yeah, if you just start the style and the whole thing, it's way easier. So I just, jump jeeps.
Do you think you always had a pretty big vision, like for these kind of ideas?
No, not really.
No?
Like I think over the time I learned to see how it could be better.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see how something that it could be better, it stops. You stop the process just because schedule or budget or whatever. We do commissions all the time, so
Yeah.
it's mainly commercial advertising jobs. But as an illustrator, I was like, okay, maybe I could do personal projects. Like one day you do an illustration, that's it. And
Yeah.
if I get better, maybe it could be really nice.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. You have more freedom. I just got in love. I don't know. It worked for me. It was so weird because it was like, I don't know. I didn't know how to draw. I never draw like as a kid or whatever.
That is pretty
Draw is
amazing,
not
yeah.
something I really like to draw now, but just because it's a tool to create stuff. But yeah, it was very weird. When I was in LA when I started to draw, and when I went to Buenos Aires one time to visit family, a couple of friends said, "And you draw now? Like, what are you doing? I'm following your Instagram, and you do illustrations?
When did that happen?
What? Hey, what do I did? Yeah, because it's such a big change, like it's so different.
But see, it looks like from the outside, it feels like you have a very easy, and I know it's not easy. It's a lot of work to study there, but you have like a smooth way of transitioning from one skill to another, and then it appears without hesitation because you take on a new job and a new skill, which means because it's hard to be good at two things at once, really.
Yeah.
So it feels like, meaning like when you started being interested in the next thing, that was all your free time in order to get to that next thing, right?
I feel it's really hard, but it's also very subjective, I always struggle with I get bored, so I switch and I learn more stuff, and then I do a couple of stuff, and I sound kind of crazy because sometimes I was like, hey, like maybe I could do the design of this, but also do the animation and also could do the compositing. I could do the renders, and you're gonna have it,
Yeah.
And people was like, no, that's 4 people. Let's not do that. That's crazy. And we hired those 4 people, and it really depends on the people.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can do better stuff than those like specialized animators
Yeah.
composing, and some other times they are way better.
Yeah.
It really depends on the people. So I don't know. Over the time, I found that sometimes you could really do this single task. I don't know, animations.
Yeah.
100 years of moving keyframes. This guy that does design could do better animation than you. That could happen.
Yeah. Well, especially like you said, 'cause it's so subjective, and at the same time, I think like lack of skill can create something like fresh in a different way. 'Cause it's
sometimes
problem solving.
It's not about like being good. It's like you should feel fresh or relevant or I don't know. It's not rocket science. Sometimes
yeah.
it's like, okay, this is weird, but it's so nice.
So cool because
yeah,
it
so
is so
cool
weird,
because
yeah.
it's weird. So what are the rules around that we could improve and present it as a design piece or whatever? Yeah.
I like it. I like that a lot. I like that especially I think in illustration, animation, yeah, these rules are so malleable and it's really hard to see them.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes kind of the way the world goes, or what's like what aesthetics are pleasing at the time, right? There's trends to illustrations,
And
right
it
now.
happens all the time. When I got to bigger studios, I saw, I don't know, like 18 years designers doing such cool shit. You know, I was like, how he can do, you know, or
Yeah,
she
yeah.
can do that. They don't have any experience. I was
Yeah.
like, where did this come from? And maybe
That's why.
yeah, and that's why. And it was okay. Maybe a fresh take into animation or illustration or whatever, it could work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. At some point, it makes sense that I could do something um, with more freedom, and also working, you know, in studios puts you. It's like an office job, you know. It's like 9 to 6.
Yeah.
You have a boss. You have, I don't know, a lot of stuff around that. At some point, I felt that I wanted to have lunch with my wife. You know, like, okay, I want to sleep at 10, and then yeah, I don't know, or 3 days weekend, or whatever. You know, like more freedom into the job. There are a bunch of stuff around a position that you have to take in a studio that sometimes doesn't work with your life, with the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I was okay. Maybe, you know, this is. I always thought that I will be a director in a studio and I will die there. Like, okay, that's the, you know, like,
Is that a
you
positive
get
thought or a negative thought?
no, it was very positive. Yeah, because
okay.
there are so many dream jobs that you could get. You know.
True.
The first studio that I got, I struggled so much. I struggled like 4 years to get that, and I really like asked, and once they gave to me the job, I was like super happy. I was like really excited. It was impossible. I talk all the time about my new job. Even like 2 years inside, I was the worst. I was like, this is the best. We are the best. Whatever. And then the job that I got in LA, I work at this studio called Back, and that was like my favorite studio in the world. Like, wait, like, I don't know if you have a favorite thing, I don't know, whatever it is. That was my favorite thing, and that was like a dream job.
You're just so passionate.
I am really into.
You just really turn on.
Yeah, I'm really into my job. Yeah,
I like how it's because in the beginning of this interview you said like, oh, I like what I do or something like that. I always like what I do. That's such an interesting thing to say. And clearly it is so. You really get passionate about these projects.
Yeah. I really, yeah. Well, yeah. It's so funny, but it is. I suppose it's how I am build it, you know,
Yeah,
whatever.
totally. But it's yeah, it's great.
But I have to. I learned over the time that I have to like it. You know,
Yeah.
I need to like this.
And then
it's important to me.
And if you don't, is it impossible for you to work on it?
If it's, well, kind of. Yeah, I can be really hard to work with. Yeah, I also learned that. You know, I know the more you're, yeah, because I have so many ideas. You know, or like whatever bars that I have to hit or stuff that I want to do. And I also see potential. You know, it's like, okay, this stuff is good, but it could be great. It could be great, man. Let's push it.
You're a good person to have around.
Yeah, so I am always like
keep
that.
pushing.
But then when you work with a production company, you know, and all that, sometimes you have to understand that there are limits, you know.
Yeah.
And
There's always constraints. For sure.
yeah, I am that guy that is so annoying, you know, like, hey, we know that this is not as good, right? Like, let's do something better. And everyone is like, dude,
Your whole team hates you. Like, we don't want to do overtime, you
shut
asshole.
up, dude. This is great.
How dare you say
How
that?
dare you? Yeah, and sometimes it is great, and I'm just, you know, like, just dreaming about, like, a better thing. And it's not going to change anything, really. But that lets me, I don't know, I have 32 now, and I'm really excited, you know. And it's really hard to find 35 or 40 years old people really excited about their job.
Excited?
It's really hard to find them. And I feel that if you can really contain that curiosity, you know, and excitement, that's kind of the key. You know, it
seems like it keeps you alive.
You know, yeah, it keeps you happy. So it depends, you know, on who you are and what are your goals, you know. And there's not a single path to do stuff, but mine was kind of like this. Mm-hmm. I needed to find something that I really like and I could push for myself. And even sometimes, you know, at the end, I try to push them, but they're not as good. You know, they are kind of like bad sometimes. And it's like, you know, at least I try it.
Exactly.
And it's like,
exactly.
I'm going to try it better the next one. Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna do illustration for like 4 years and move on to something else after, like you do?
You know, that was a big talk with my wife because she was like, okay, now that you're doing illustration, you're going to jump again to, I don't know,
Probably.
tapestry, whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to do shoes, you know. And I really don't know. I think what is important for me is to have the freedom to pursue some kind of visual, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I really love design and animation, so I feel it's gonna be around that. And then I feel also the industry changes, you know, like the last couple years, illustration became so big, and you have the opportunity, at least in the United States, you have the opportunity to create big brands and just pay the bills
Yeah.
doing illustration.
And like as a
Or
solo
fast
artist,
search.
right? Like
Yeah,
you could make a campaign like for a huge company all by yourself, right?
yeah, well, that was kind of also a way. I don't know. I come from Latin America, and that I feel it's a big part of me. So I am like kind of dreamer, you know. I really try to push myself and all that, but also I'm very realistic, and I'm like, okay, this is not happen in Latin America. You know, in Argentina, it will be very hard to pay the bills being an artist as I am now. And in LA, I saw that there were so many artists and galleries and people just living with that. So I was like, okay, maybe this is possible. And when I got like big commissions for you know, whatever brand, I was like, okay, this is real. You know, like there is no discussion around that. It's possible. So I was really happy.
That's huge.
Me and my wife, right? Because my wife was like, whew. okay, yeah.
Okay, it's not you're not faking it. It actually works.
Yeah. You're actually doing illustration. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have hard times separating professional from personal work?
At the beginning, yeah. It's something that I learned over the time because I got so excited at the beginning with this first studio that I have and all that job that I became a branding guy. You know, I was doing TV branding, but then I was like, okay, I don't like branding. You know, like I don't like to do TV branding. I was really good at that, you know, and I was working, and my whole portfolio was that, and I was super excited about the job, but it wasn't something for me. It was just something that I was doing, and then I felt that over the years I learned that it has to say something about me, and this illustration stuff, it's more personal. All the jobs that I got the last 2 years, it's inspired on personal projects that I did.
That's cool.
Over the last 3 years, I would say, and it's usually the better. Not the better I get, no, but I think the bigger portfolio that I have, or the more consistent the pieces are, the clients know what are they gonna get, you know, like kind of the expectations. So yeah, and it's also more rewarding, you know, like the new stuff is gonna appear in your personal stuff. The interesting stuff is gonna appear in your personal stuff. Everything that you could push or do or whatever nice stuff that you're gonna do, I feel it should be on your personal projects. It's hard to do that in animation because you need so many people, and but in illustration, I feel it's way easier because it's more approachable. You know, the scale of that. So that was also like something nice that I realized after taking in illustration. You know, it's like okay, this was actually clever. You know, like I can do a single piece just for me in a day, or a week or whatever. So I started to do series of personal projects. They were just showing, you know, like people, and I don't know, like just funny stuff sometimes.
But that's what's so cool though, is that I guess you do get hired, like you said, for personal work over the last couple of years, which is so people seek you out for you, like for what you create. That's pretty special.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I always talk with my mom or my dad, and they're like, do you realize that they are like liking my stuff, and I'm just doing like my stuff with a logo, and that's it. And yeah, sometimes for me it's still really weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird. But it's rewarding, you know. It's really
Totally.
rewarding, yeah, and it feels great. I yeah, I don't know. I'm super excited on I don't know what stuff I could do to um, to create new collaborations, you know,
Yeah.
to do jobs with another people. I don't know. It is really exciting for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's really special, but it kind of works like that, you know. With the studios, I think they put stuff out there and they get more jobs because of the stuff that they do.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you just do stuff, and people try to buy the stuff, and you do more stuff, and and I feel it's just I like that dynamic where you create something that is not you, but it has something or it says something about you,
Mhm.
and people comes around and says, "Oh, that's cool," you know, like so.
It's a good loop,
Yeah.
especially when it's positive reaction.
Yeah, yeah, especially when it's positive. Yeah, I don't want to know what it's.
Yeah. Don't tell
Please.
me the bad parts.
Yeah, don't tell me the bad parts. Yeah.
But so and so these days when you set out to make personal piece, you don't think, oh, I'm trying to learn something so that I can get the next job. You just make a personal piece, and when you explore, that turns out to be the thing that's like.
I think at the beginning when I started to do illustration, I really wanted to jump jobs.
Mhm.
So I was trying to be very effective, I would say, or efficient. You know,
Mhm.
like okay, I know that this could work. This could bring me a new job on Illustrator or a
Mhm.
commission. So I really try to hit that. But
Cool.
then now that I have the projects, I am trying to push the boundaries. You know, because
Just for yourself, though.
yeah, just
Yeah.
for myself. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I want to see what I could do. You know, I was trying to learn how to paint,
Yeah.
like real painting, not digital painting,
Nice.
and see what I could do with that. The murals stuff is something new for me. I never thought about murals, and the last year I did a couple, and they are kind of really cool. Vancouver has so many murals also, but
Yeah.
yeah, I sometimes I feel dumb speaking about this new stuff for me, you know, but they're like, dude, murals, really?
I exactly know what you
I am
mean.
the worst, sorry.
It's like when you realize you like this band that's been around for 20 years.
Yeah,
you just
I
find
am
it-
that guy. I'm like, dude, Radiohead is great.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's like, have you guys heard of this band, the Beatles? It's
Yeah,
pretty special.
pretty cool, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I think I did it on purpose, but at some point it's like, yeah, it kind of works like that.
Hey
It's
man,
so simple.
everyone takes their own time, I guess.
Yeah.
That mural that you did at Warby Parker, was it? Did you design and was it printed or did you paint it yourself on the wall?
No, I just did the design.
design?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was actually, so I got married last year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Growing up, doing all the big things.
Yeah, I'm adult. We got married, and on the honeymoon, I got the offer to the Warby Parker
Nice.
mural. I was like, no, you're kidding me. Just because, you know, Warby Parker has these beautiful stores all over
Yeah.
the world, and it's so special. I don't know, when I was living in LA, I always say the same, but when I was living in LA, I went to Venice. They have a Warby Parker store,
Yeah.
and the mural that they have is from this guy called Geoff McFerridge,
Mhm.
and he's like so good, dude. He's way better than anyone. I feel he's like my Bjork or Radiohead. You know, he's
What
like
is
my
it,
god.
Jeff McFerry?
Geoff McFerridge.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll have to look him up.
And he's so good. I don't know. I was like, oh, I didn't know that they have a mural from this guy, and I started to see all the other murals that they have,
Mhm.
and they are really well created. You know, like
Mhm.
the artists that they choose are just like really cool.
Mhm.
And I found so many of these new illustrators that I was trying to find, and it was great. You know, it was like, okay, I'm gonna just check murals
Yeah.
that they did, and they were really cool, and I like the portfolios they did. So when they called me, I was like, I can't believe it. You know, I made it. I really made it.
You've made it into the cool guy list.
I made it to the cool guy list. I am cool. I was like that, yeah, like super excited. So yeah, I did I told the guy, the art director, hey, you know, like I am down for, of course, I'm gonna do this. But next week I am in like Mexico, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have my Cintiq. I just have an iPad. I am gonna try to to work, for you, but it's my honeymoon. My
Yeah.
wife is gonna kill me. And she was already on board. She was like, dude, you should do this.
That's nice.
She was the first, but I want to be fair. It was my honeymoon, so. The guy was super nice. He tried to push the schedule, so I finished the project. It was a weird month also because we have to move stuff or whatever. We have to go to LA. I don't remember. But we move a lot that 2 months or whatever. And I think I finished it with all my studio stuff, and I did a second round of proposals, like proper proposals.
Yeah.
And the process was very nice. They wanted to have something local. And I live in Olympic Village, and I saw they have all these goose around.
Yeah, of course.
And it was so special for me. I don't know if it's special for Vancouverites, but they are not a standard thing to have in your neighborhood. Like in Buenos Aires, I would have dogs, and cats, and that's it, and rats. But I don't know, like goose, geese. They are amazing. People. They have a relationship with them. I don't know. If a goose is gonna cross the screen now, the cars will stop.
It's true.
And that's so fucking amazing.
You love it. The animals control this place.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I can't believe it. Or I run by the seawall and people stops also when they cross.
Yeah.
You have to wait, and it's so. I don't know, it's such a good balance between nature and the city and all that. It speaks so well about the Vancouverites, and it's so.
Yeah, it's true.
I felt that's local. It's like, they're nice people, and they take care of these goose that are around. I don't know. Yeah. So we put a bunch of them, and I did just proposals for goose. I did 20 drawings or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, I usually do a lot of sketches just because I want to have a conversation with the client and say, okay, what do you like,
And is it line work or is it color as well?
No, it's not color.
So just you're showing rough.
Just sketches.
Yeah.
But they are, my stuff is pretty minimal. It's pretty simple. So the sketches resemble a lot the final that they're gonna have. They're really similar.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it's cool because they usually don't give me feedback. They choose over options. They we like these three. Okay, amazing. And I do a second round, and that's it.
That's awesome.
So it was a dream.
It turned out really
project.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think
that you like it? Have you seen it?
Not in person. I need to go see it in person.
You should. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
It is really cool. They it's not painted.
Yeah.
They did I think it's vinyl.
Okay. But your brushes that you're using have texture on them, so that's
Yeah.
why I couldn't tell because you have photos on your website of it, but when you look at it, because you use texture brushes, in a photo on a website, it almost looks like it could be painted, but
That's
you
good to
can't
know.
tell. Yeah.
I would love. I asked to Warby if they could paint it, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
So but I always prefer when they paint it. I did just 3 murals. I did one in Buenos Aires, like in a big facade of a beautiful museum that is there, and they painted the mural, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. I was super. And it's so crazy because you do, your design in a screen, like a 22 inches screen or whatever, and then you go, it's fucking tall, fucking big, and I just they're pretty minimal, so the colors are very bright and big,
Really effective. I think that's what's really effective in murals is when you go for those big shapes.
It's amazing.
It looks so good, and it's so satisfying.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it really works. It's just like orangeness.
But I think that's why sorry.
No, it's just that that I found that they're really cool and painted. You create something more beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
I think that's why this illustration, these kind of illustration styles are popular because on large scale they work so well. Like the bright color that I don't know, the kind of work you make is I think really appealing, and it's cool that you're getting jobs with these big studios, but it seems like. I don't know. It seems pretty special that what you've been creating is actually what it is in demand. The kind of look, but
Yeah.
no, but I just think when blown
work.
up that large, I saw the photo of the mural you're talking about. But yeah, it's awesome. When you put it's like you said, when you put these big colors, make them so large.
They work so well.
It's
I didn't realize about that until I saw the murals.
Yeah.
It was okay, because I haven't done any murals, and I also just work for videos. It's just the biggest that I work, it was screen, whatever screen you see.
Yeah.
So
You think you'll be making more?
more murals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I think now that I know how they could be, I should be better at doing
Okay.
murals. There are so many people doing murals, and I feel mines are kind of like, well, yeah, it's working, but
Have also become quite a popular thing, right? I think like illustration and murals, especially lately.
it is
become,
it's a thing. I don't know. It's such a hard thing to design because they're gonna be so big, and sometimes you in the space, it works differently.
Yeah.
You don't see the whole composition. You just feel the color around you, and also the light. And I don't know. It's such a complex subject to design, but they look so nice. Well done. They look amazing.
Totally.
So and yeah, I don't know. I love Vancouver about that. Like Mount Pleasant is so full of murals, and there are so many good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
You gotta you'll have to add to it.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll plan something out. I think Drew also has something planned, so we'll just ask him.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Let's paint some walls in the city. I was looking through your Instagram feed. Actually, I should have mentioned this in the beginning. So, if you want to see Sebastian's work right now while we're chatting, it's it's Sebastian Curi, .com. So CURI, and on Instagram is Seba Curi. So SEBACURI.
Hi.
There
Thank
you go.
you.
Yeah, go find it. But I was looking through her work, and it was pretty interesting. I always love how people approach Inktober because I think it's a pretty interesting month. Oh, hello, bikers.
Whoa, motorcycle.
It's an interesting month where I don't know. It's like you can see artists either push themselves, or it's like people who stick with it. It's like a month of learning, and you can actually see people progress in interesting ways. But
Yeah.
I think it was pretty interesting to see for me to. It was interesting for me to see what you've come up with, and it feels like something different even for you. For that, I imagine it was probably last year's Inktober. Like the shapes and the lines that you're creating,
Yeah.
they felt different from
I know what you're talking.
your
The other stuff.
yeah.
That's a personal project. So I was trying to do something that it's different to see if someone calls me.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I would love to do more of this job. I'm gonna have to do personal projects. I'm gonna have to show like what are the possibilities, and once they know what I could do with that kind of style, someone could pay me, I could pay the bills, and I could do more of that job. That's kind of how it works. But it's so hard because right now, we work in an industry, and I am a commercial artist. First, like really commercial artist. So I am struggling with that. I am trying to be better and just to try to do projects for me.
Yeah.
But right now it's kind of a balance, and I feel it's like a learning curve. It's like, okay, now it's like 50-50. Before it was like 10-90. It was all client. So I feel it should be progressive, and at some points I would love to do just like, okay, I like this. You don't care. You don't like it. This is great.
Yeah.
I don't care. But I'm not there. I think I have to work towards that direction. And that project, it was a bit like that, like, hey, this is completely different to the stuff that I do, but I feel it's really cool. And also I have the iPad, and I was really bad at the iPad. I'm really bad at drawing. I struggle a lot with just the mechanism, like my hand doesn't have any pulse, or I'm getting better. I am. But the first stuff, if you just scroll down my Instagram, the first stuff is like circles, wobbly shapes, right? And then it's like, okay, more defined. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's more defined wobbly shapes, and then it gets, okay, he's getting some kind of better at drawing. You could see high, how you say, like a high mechanism on the hand.
Yeah. Getting better.
You get and now I have more control. At the beginning, I hadn't any control.
Makes sense.
So when I did all the shapes and the Inktober stuff, I just wanted to pursue something different without any character design. Because my stuff is mainly people and more abstract also. Sometimes it's really hard. I like what I do, and I love it. but the style that I'm building, you can say just a certain amount of stuff. It's very joyful.
Yeah.
So if I want to create something that is more dark or sad or whatever, it's impossible. It's just like that style is not gonna work. I
Yeah.
should create something different. Or sometimes it's not mature. It's just it feels. If I have to critique my style, it feels more superficial.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, this is really happy people.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I try to do something different. Like, okay, how does this feel? And you can see some links between my style and this new stuff. But it's different. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep pushing. Sometimes I wanted to do some 3D stuff also,
Nice.
but CGI, right? CGI is so big. So I don't know.
When you sit down to create this kind of work, are you always pushing yourself to learn something new, or is it just something that happens along the way?
It happens along the way. Yeah,
Yeah? Okay.
yeah. At the beginning, my goal was to learn, like to master the software. But now I just more into. I would love to paint a canvas, and because I would love to see a canvas with my stuff, but I know how to paint, so I'm gonna have to learn.
Figure it
how
out.
to paint.
So
Yeah.
I know we started this me asking you because you just got into your new studio space. Was part of the goal getting you studio space to be using traditional medium?
Well, actually, the studio was because of my wife, because she's a chef. She always worked as a chef or more into the how you say doing administration for restaurants, and then went into. She kept changing. She's kind of like me. She kept changing stuff within the gastronomy industry.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, I would say, or 1 year ago, she started to do clothing, like sewing and that kind of stuff. Over the last year, she bought a machine to do rugs.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah,
the
you
other
saw
day.
rugs.
Yeah.
But the problem with the rugs is that we need a lot of space.
Yeah.
Like a lot of space. And I was cool with my small space, but then she wanted to have a frame to do, I don't know, like racks and all that. And we were like, okay, we need more space. At some point, we were thinking to just move the kitchen table and just put a frame there, and we will have the racks on the kitchen, and that was the kitchen.
Like true artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily we found a space in Mount Pleasant, and it's been great. I completely love to work with my wife. It's amazing. I've been used to always work with coworkers, and friends and that kind of stuff, and to work with her is such a big difference. So we kind of like discovered that the last couple
That's
months.
awesome.
It was like, okay, because it could go really wrong,
Yeah.
And we were aware of that, okay, let's try this, maybe we could work it out, and it could be great, but maybe it's too intense.
Yeah. What if you see each other too much?
Yeah,
Get each other's space.
it could happen, but it's not. It's been great. So the space mainly was because of that.
Okay,
And
it's
now that
mostly
we
for
have
her.
the
Yeah.
space, and also so we are on the second floor, and the first floor, you and just a bunch of artists are working there, and you paint and you all that stuff. So I know that I'm gonna grab a coffee. I'm gonna be there. Hey, I'm gonna start a canvas, a little one.
Yeah.
How
Do it, man.
How I would approach it, and maybe some of you could help me how to
That's gonna be great.
to do. But I would love to. I am very excited because I've been doing like 2 or 3 big projects that they didn't let me do any more stuff just because I don't have any more to give. They were like, I don't know, like 150 illustrations
That's
or
that's
something.
a lot.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like I cannot draw nothing just because I gave myself.
You gave
to-
it all away. Yeah, your
Yeah.
soul is. They own it now.
Yeah. That's my soul, and this is gonna end like in a month or
Okay.
something. So I am looking excited to some vacations, and then when I go back, I'm gonna try to do some personal projects.
There you go.
That would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
You build your new soul. Build a new.
Yeah,
you.
I need to do some soul searching.
Yeah, but that's, I guess, because I was thinking that seeing you in a studio space, I was like, oh, it kind of makes sense that you know your next step is, especially since you've done murals, you're doing the work you're creating has some textural aspects to it, even if it's just silhouettes. So it seems like a natural transition if you are going to do fine art,
Yeah.
or like a traditional medium.
No, yeah.
It makes sense.
And there is a lot of the technique, that give you so much. It's very different to paint with digital brushes on the Cintiq with Photoshop than to do, I don't know, paper cut or whatever. and maybe if I do paper cut, something appears there and it's like, okay, that was it. This is new and exciting and it looks cool. It has to be relevant also, of course, for the industry, but the industry is so big that you could do, I don't know, you have so many options.
Yeah. But you want it to be relevant for the industry, you're saying?
I want to be relevant. Yeah. I feel that you should be relevant for the industry.
Why?
Well, because I feel it's something natural that if you are not relevant, why you are not relevant? Why you are not doing something that is just for you? Are you repeating something that it's made, I don't know, 50 years ago, or there are like a million people doing the same and you don't have a special thing to say? I don't know. Sometimes I think a lot about that. Like I know that my stuff it's you could see my style on other artists or similar stuff on other artists, but I think I have my personal approach. And I bring something to the table, and I feel that makes it relevant. And I like that because I think I can work with that. How I talk with you, and we talk about music and or whatever, and it's relevant because it's bringing something new and it feels fresh and it's exciting. Of course, you could see the commercial side of that, and you could sell stuff with that, and that's amazing. But the other side is also true, it's talking to people,
Yeah.
I really like when I do something and my mom comes and says it's great, but also maybe like random guy says, dude, this is great too. And I think that connection it's also part.
So when you say relevant, you mean something that, because sometimes new is always new is difficult because maybe new is a combination of something else. But when you say relevant, it's like where the current generation can look at it and it can appreciate for what it is. Like
Yeah. I think that's a better explanation.
Because I think relevant is not only it's hard to achieve, but it's also hard to quantify, right?
It is.
Because what if you're making something that's so relevant, but I don't know, you're just not putting it in the right place for people to see?
It could happen. Yeah, for sure it could happen. Yeah. I think it's not accidental that I am like I'm having a lot of work and it's a great moment for me, but it's a great moment for a lot of illustrators that are doing character designs for brands, just because it's a way better to communicate for tech brands.
Totally.
And that makes it like successful, but also I feel that people is more aware of illustration, and they're cool, and there's not just for kids. It could be like mature illustration, and you could try to push that. And there are so many interesting stuff around illustration right now, or just art, whatever. And it's just how to. I really like to see how different artists make different visuals with that, and that's kind of a statement, and you just do another thing, like you do a whatever illustration and I do one and it says something and yours says the same stuff but from another point of view, and it's like okay, that guy, and you just, it's like a conversation, and I really enjoy that. I feel like we are not stealing something from each other, we are just talking about the same subject and we are just trying to recompose the same elements, and I don't know, it's just like one thing leads to another, and we just like keep doing cool stuff.
That's a great way to look at it. And I guess and then as long as you're able to build up on top of it, right? I think, right, like, because you're able to take something and then adjust it and make your own and keep it going. I
feel you always have to like it, and it first has to be relevant for you, and you should feel it fresh. And just like you need to be curious about your work. You do something and it's not perfect, it's not done, it's never done, but you just put it out there, you do something. That kind of dynamic is just healthy for
Sometimes it's
for
hard
your
to,
craft?
because people get stuck in ruts, and I think sometimes being excited about your work again
Yeah.
can take some time. But I guess that's like kind of each person's journey, like being able to
It's so hard. Yeah, I feel it's something that you have to take care. You know,
of being excited about your work.
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw so many. I wouldn't say old people, but like 30 from the 30s to older people that they are not. They're great artists,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not excited. There is not heart,
Yeah.
what they're doing, and it's just because they keep repeating the stuff that they did forever,
Yeah.
and it's so sad because they could be the coolest, greatest artist, and
Yeah.
it's all potential that you don't see realize, and it's sometimes just like they don't are fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you're paying the bills, but uh, what happens, every day, and and they could do it. There are so many
Mhm.
opportunities.
It's quite a shame, but it is difficult to, I think, abandon the comfort, and that's what I was telling you earlier, where I think it is hard to let go of something that you're really good at and then try something else next, right? I think that's why, like you were saying, you see a lot of people doing the same thing. Is because
They're really good at what they do. Yeah,
it's tough
and
to leave
yeah,
that. Not to say that, well, right or wrong, but
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, it's not like that.
but you could be discovering something new, like you're saying, which you could fall in love in again, rather than doing
Yeah.
the same thing all over again.
And I feel the greatest feeling, or sometimes you just met people and they're so in love with what they do, like Drew. Like
Yeah.
he's really into
Or
that.
like you.
Yeah, I'm super into what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
And it's like, okay, that's how you said, that's contagious,
Yeah.
you know?
Very much so.
And that's amazing. That's I don't know. When I was a teenager, I was playing like punk rock and like
Nice.
hardcore stuff. And what I really like about that scene, it was that it was super contagious.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, of course, screaming, and like it was really loud. And I don't know. It's something that it's really push you, to, I don't know. It has a lot of energy.
And it gives so much good energy. to
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, and I was like, okay, this is that kind of a feeling, and just way of being. It's amazing, and I can live with that.
That's a good way to live. Yeah, if you can like get other people excited about something, it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's great, when they are get excited and they go back with something new. I sometimes I got emails or I talk with people and they are like 17 or
Mm-hmm.
20 years, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And you just talk, and they just leave super excited. They're like, this dude didn't know how to draw, and he's doing great, and I love his stuff. I could completely do it, and they do it, and they're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And you like their stuff. I don't know. It feels so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could do it, dude. It's just like put your time there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, you could do it, but you should. I think people should do it as smart as you have, where when you're building your portfolio, you knew that you're creating it for a purpose it was with a goal to try to get jobs. But I think that's like a smart way of creating it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are a lot of ways I feel to be successful,
Totally. Yeah,
and
yeah.
one of course is financial, but there are so many others. For me, I needed to be financially successful.
It helps, man. Hey,
because it's
it's nice to live
I
in a
had
building.
I had to pay the bills, but
Yeah.
but that lets me to now I have more space, to create
Mhm.
with more freedom and have more ownership, I would say, of my projects. I always been working a lot, and I feel the last 10 years or the last 6 years I've been doing jobs that I liked
Mhm.
always, and that's amazing. It's a lot of time doing projects that
It's pretty lucky
you
to be able
enjoy?
to say that. Yeah.
it's super lucky. But well, I jump a lot of I work in like 10 studios. It's
Yeah.
so many studios,
And you did so many different things too.
and I did so many stuff. So I know that it's something that I'm pursuing always. So I don't know. It's something that you have to work it out, and it's not. And some people, it's really really happy and fulfilled on the same job, the whole career or whatever.
It's true.
Like maybe 40, maybe my grandpa or whatever. Like someone that works for a big company
Yeah.
for 40 years and they are like happy as ever. Maybe it's just this, era new, I don't know, Instagram
So
or
many
whatever.
possibilities,
Yeah,
man. You
that
see everything.
you're aware of these amazing people doing amazing stuff, and you're like, okay, I should push it. Yeah. I'm being lazy, whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly that. It's like you
Yeah.
said, there's YouTube, so
There's
we're
YouTube.
all gonna stop being lazy and learn from
Dude,
everyone.
YouTube is the best. Google and YouTube changed my life for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Which one of your social platforms give you the most gigs?
Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Not even Behance.
Well, I'm not sure. You know, I should know better. But what happens, and this is completely my take, you know, on this is with Instagram, you kind of grow, and you can put your stuff there, and I feel it's like a daily, like a diary, you know.
Yeah.
What happens with the audience is that, at least with my jobs, is that sometimes I get followers that are relevant for the industry. You know, you have like, okay, art director of whatever, or creative director of any brand, but they are usually more student of whatever.
Okay.
And happy for both, but I know that I have to hit creative directors and art directors.
Cool.
So I really try to show final pieces and how we create brands, and I am a designer, you know.
Cool.
So, and for Behance, really different. I really don't know, because so you have a lot of artists creating on studios, you know, and people just putting work of stuff. But then you have all those profiles that they don't have a name, and those I feel are the ones that you want.
Really?
It's like no name, no work, and the next day you have like an Apple job or whatever, and it's like
they're the ones looking.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But I really don't have a track of that. I don't know how it happened. I use both. I feel it's great. Behance is great because you could create series, you know, and your jobs, your artwork is gonna look better. You know, it's gonna have certain order. I work to portray the jobs how I wanted to portray them. There. And Instagram is just this square base thing that you put there, you know. So it's like, okay, just scroll down, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You're gonna see it, and then it's okay, like.
Cool.
So yeah.
I saw you got a motionographer award in 2018.
I got it, but I put a lot of awards. So when you work on motion graphics on these studios, you get a lot of awards. I don't remember that one.
Why is it so? How is it that you get a lot of awards? Is it just because there's many conferences, or?
Well, it's just studios try to get awards, you know, and I've been super lucky to work in like these 3 big studios, and Buck is an amazing studio, and they have the biggest badass clients.
That's cool.
It's like if you work on motion graphics, you would love to work for that studio, any of the 3 branches that they have, and they win everything. They are really amazing. They are. And then I work here for Giant Ant in Vancouver. They win so many
Also
awards.
amazing.
They're amazing. They have like the quality of the stuff that they do is really, really high. So no matter how good you are, you're gonna be in the team, you're gonna do stuff, and you're gonna win awards. And then I work for, when I was working in Latin America, I worked for Le Cube and Plenty, like award-winning studios, blah blah. So they're really, it's really nice to work with teams that they know how to do stuff.
That's awesome.
And I think one of those, sorry that I don't remember.
No, that's how many awards you won. One of them was a motionographer award. I just thought it was pretty.
It's pretty big. It's pretty
because
big
because if you're in motion graphics, like that's
motionographer is the. Yeah, I feel it's so it's a pretty new award. I think it has 3 years now, but you know that the selection, the judges, are amazing.
Of course,
are great. I follow motionographers since I have 20 something, so
really?
like 10 years or something, and I kind of started to do motion graphics because of motionographer.
Wow.
So getting a motionographer award, it was like amazing.
And you don't even know. You don't even know.
No, I know. It's just that, you know, you awards are such a subject, you know. I love awards, of course. Like you're gonna, whoever, you know,
Yeah.
I really like to get awards. I feel that you have to work for to get awards. Like
Yeah.
now, I'm not getting awards because I'm not applying for awards. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
because you have to build a case. The project has to blah blah. You have to pay, of course, and you have to create some kind of a structure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, maybe I could chill a bit and I could focus more on my artwork, you know. But then I could come back. I could come back, you know, and I could. But there is a lot of time. That's a lot of time that you have to put.
That's what I wanted to ask. Is that
It's-
if you're
it's
we're applying for those, because on your website I think you had a bunch of those the Promax BDA awards as well.
so many promos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I work a lot in branding.
Yeah,
That was my main job for my career, you know. So yeah, we hit him really hard. We yeah, yeah.
Just working
Um,
hard. Nice.
But it's great. I feel that's more like the business side of the industry, and for smaller studios, I think for US I don't know how it works, but for Latin American studios, you need to some way to put you on the map because Argentina is so far, you know. So we're gonna hire a brand new studio in Argentina. What? Like that's Europe? That's who what?
Hey, it's a big country.
It sounds. Oh yeah, it's a big country, beautiful country. You should
Yeah.
go. But it's
I'd love to.
it's so hard sometimes to. We are really far, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's really hard to put your portfolio there. So you need to get awards. You need to be better than the people that is really close. You
Close,
know, if
yeah.
there are so many good studios in LA, but there are amazing studios in Buenos Aires. Like
Mhm.
really, they're amazing. And I feel that just the location that they have, you know, it's hard. It happens the same with Vancouver, you know.
Yeah.
It's on the West Coast, but it's not US,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not LA. So sometimes we suffer
Yeah.
because of that. So you need to pursue awards, you know, and
Would you recommend that? So like, is it good to try to
winning awards.
Something well, like apply for them, right? Because it's not always about
yeah,
it being
yeah.
on the radar.
I'm not sure how. So I had to do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
visas applications. The awards saved me. Yeah,
Really?
they were
Wow.
amazing. Yeah. So if you have awards and you do conferences, if you have a big name, that gives you like more options. Because I'm also I studied a lot. I studied 3 careers, but I haven't graduated in any. Sorry, mom.
Did you drop out 3 times or no? Or just there's
Yeah,
no-
well, the first one I just started. I did a year, and it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, journalism is not. I don't know how to write.
Yeah.
That's too yeah. And then the second one, it was a 4-year career, and I dropped the last one just because I was sure. I was like super sure that I didn't want it to. It was super technical, you know. It was
What
like
was the last one? Was it post production or no?
It's called post production. What was the name? So long. Audio vision.
Okay.
That is a like concept, French concept or whatever, about like video and image
Mhm.
on post production with sound and video or something like that. Spanish big name.
Okay.
So that one I did like 3 or something, and I didn't get any certificate. Something I should have studied I think a year more to do that, and then I studied graphic design.
That must have helped you the most. That's what.
That was great because I really was. I didn't know. I already know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was doing art direction, and I had so many problems doing art direction without being a graphic designer.
Mm.
Sometimes I have like a designer working for me, and I was like, okay, this is not looking good. I could do it better. I don't know how to explain it. And then I will do it better, and the designer will be like, it's better, but it's not great. And I will be like, yeah, I know, I'm sure. And I needed a real art director, you know, like, hey, art designer, like, just help me. And they will compose the stuff differently, or the layout will be different, or the type, whatever, you know.
Mhm.
So basic principles that I didn't know, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna go to school to study.
Yeah.
And I studied, and it works. It really works. But yeah, I had to drop out because I had the offer in LA. And I was super sad because I was enjoying to study, you know, being older.
Mhm.
I had 30 or 28, 29. So my age was closer to the ones that the professors has,
Mhm.
rather than the students. and he had like such a good relationship with them, and it was their favorite because I was doing I was super excited.
You're
as
more
I am.
serious about it.
Yeah, I was serious. So if I had to do two whatever, I was doing 20. It was like
Wow.
over the scale, and they were like, "Great, dude! You know, like just they bring me stuff. They were teaching me, and it was I was learning so much. It was super. It's so hard sometimes to get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy as like you could learn software and YouTube helps you, but then doing cool shit with that software, that's
where
hard.
it's you.
Yeah, that's like okay, that's not YouTube. That's
Yeah.
all stuff. And yeah, like graphic design and the University of Buenos Aires helped me a lot. They have like amazing teachers. It's like really really cool. So yeah, that one I dropped out. And I was
for a job. It was
yeah,
for a
it was
good
for a
move.
job. It was so sad that when I told my teachers, hey, you know, I have to leave. You know, I have to drop out. I'm really into this class, and they were like, well, what are you gonna do? You know, and no, yeah, I got an offer in LA. What?
Yeah,
What?
go.
You have an just go away.
Yeah,
Go
get out of
away.
here.
Get out of here. You know? And I was like, no, yeah, I know, that's great, but I wanted to pursue this for a year more or 2 years. You know, I was really into studying. Yeah.
Do you think
I-
you'll be back to school then again?
I am thinking about it. Yeah, I am actually thinking about it. I don't know. We are deciding with my wife to travel a bit more, so we are
Mm.
not gonna stay years on cities. We're gonna stay months.
Okay.
So that will be hard to
Yeah.
do with studying. But maybe when we are still thinking to go back to Buenos Aires at
Mhm.
some point.
Yeah.
So maybe at that point I would love to study. I don't know. I am the worst. Typography. I'm really bad. and sometimes art history. I know it's just like it's interesting when you get older, and I am really into graphic design and
Mhm.
illustration. So if you go to study graphic design and illustration, it's like yeah, I could do it.
It's actually
I
fun.
saw stuff on my weekends. I like it's my job, but it's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So maybe I could do it. Yeah, I totally recommend it. Studying, it's great to study as a young kid, but if you have 30s and you can study, it's way better.
Yeah.
Way better. Yeah.
Especially when you really know what you want and that's what you choose. That's
Yeah,
like,
it feels
yeah,
correct.
Feels
Yeah.
like a gift.
Yeah, it feels like a gift. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the teachers are all. I don't know. I struggled a lot with teachers when I was younger, and the last time that I studied, they were so clear for me. Everything that they explained, it was like, okay, I get it. I get it.
That's
I
awesome.
I get what you're saying, and I feel it's an age problem. That
Yeah.
you're just.
I wonder about that too. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like your attention span and all that. and
Yeah, you're just thinking.
Plus,
about all the stuff.
you're into
It's-
punk music, so you're just a rebel, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember those times.
Nice.
Happy times.
Yeah. What was your favorite? What has been your favorite project to work on? What stands out?
Such a hard question. I really enjoy the projects that I take now. Like I ask a lot about the brief, how we're gonna do them, if I'm gonna have the time. So they are like kind of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the first one, the first big project that I have as an illustrator. I was still working as animator, director in back in LA, and I got these 8 series illustrations for a museum in Buenos Aires.
Mm.
That is called Recoleta, Centro Cultural Recoleta.
Nice.
And it's like an old building, beautiful, in kind of like the center downtown of Buenos Aires.
Mhm.
And they do, it's kind of like a cultural center mixed with a museum. Kind of like they have cultural activities and they have some exhibitions, and they try to bring like interesting stuff about the art world or culture to the young people. And they wanted to have a new image for summer.
Cool.
So the guy was like, okay, we're gonna do, this was a very Latin American kind of brief. We're gonna do a couple illustrations for the summer around love, based on your personal projects. And I was like, yeah, amazing, let's do that. Totally. And we started to talk about schedule and budget, and it was weird. It was just like, okay, maybe we could have this budget, this schedule, but it's gonna change everything. So, but I was very into that because I was starting, and it was a commission project for illustration. It was one of the first one that I had,
Yeah.
and it was for this. It's very prestigious. It's like a museum. I was like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it's
do a
awesome.
museum. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is like my first illustration project. This is crazy. I have friends that are illustrators, and I will ask like, hey, sorry, man, sorry because this is so wrong. I know that it's wrong, but
You're like, why
but
me? I don't know.
Yeah, but I have to say yes. You know, like
Of
I'm
course.
gonna have to say yes. So the guy was like, okay, let's do it, and I did. I don't know. I did like 30 drawings or whatever. I did
Wow.
a lot of like a big proposal, and I presented. And I was really excited, and the guy really liked it. He was like super down. He was like, okay, this is great. This is amazing. And they presented to the commission or whatever. You know, like they have a like 5 to 8 people that has to decide because it's like government stuff. And they approve everything, and they were like, okay, so what we're gonna do, it's to originally they were posters, and the guy was like, okay, we're gonna do T-shirts. Cool. Maybe pins and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, let's do whatever. I am, whatever you need, just tell me. I'm gonna do more stuff.
Yeah.
And we did a second round or some colors, and they were more into that. And they were like, okay, we are gonna do. And I don't remember how was the sequence, but they said maybe we're gonna do a mural on the facade of the building. And this building is a historic building in Buenos Aires, and they never did murals.
Wow.
And it was like, whoa, this is controversial. This is cool. This is
It's getting
what?
bigger and bigger.
It's getting bigger. Yeah, like my drawings there, and he was like, yeah. We're gonna see if we get the budget, but maybe we could do it. And the other stuff that appear on another round, and this is like just like chaotic brief. It's like, okay, we have a room. They said we have a room, and we have a team of painters. So we want you to do a solo exhibition. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I was so happy. So they gave me the facade of the building. They did chairs, posters, pins, stickers,
Wow.
books. Like they did the whole. Like it's on Behance. It's massive.
Wow.
And they painted a big room. Like I know meters. I don't know
Just saying
inches,
meters, it's
but
okay.
it's like a big ass room, wall to wall. All the illustrations that I have, they painted all hand drawn.
Wow.
And it looked amazing. It's the best project, I think. I don't know if now is the best, but I felt it like this is impossible. It was impossible, I haven't at that point. I haven't done any big projects on illustration. I wasn't an illustrator. I was an animator, and I was so I don't know, just astonished.
Yeah.
Really, with me?
That's a really cool story.
It's amazing.
And all those pieces turn out really well. I really like how you use forms and human characters, but it's somewhere in between abstraction and representation.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they make really beautiful abstract shapes, but then there's still characters within there. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think I really like about that. Like kind of like it's like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's like a puzzle, and it's not about technique. It's more about like how do you perceive the image, and how much time do you see it. And sometimes you can see 2 people, sometimes it's 1, sometimes like that arm. It's kind of weird, and that kind of thinking process that you go through to read the image. It's interesting, and also I feel sometimes funny. It's such a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want to be funny with these shapes that I'm drawing, and yeah, it's when you work with a lot of detail, I feel there is a connection between complexity and something funny, and or just like the feeling of something. It has to the amount of time that you put, the emotion that you have. It's like a link between all that stuff, and it's something that I like sometimes push. Okay, less time, more hand draw, more rough, but really joyful. It's just like a big, strong line, or whatever bold thing that you could do. It gives you a lot of movement or motion, on energy. And sometimes you try to sketch something very well detailed, and it's not giving you the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of stuff. It's kind of what I'm working. Also, it's really hard for me to do illustration, so abstract shapes, dude, that saves me.
You're saying it's hard. That's why you just throw in some abstract shapes. Is that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I started
very
doing
effective.
yeah.
I didn't know.
The first time that I did illustration,
Yeah.
I just opened Illustrator. I
Yeah.
am horrible on Illustrator, and I just put some squares, circles, and I was like, okay, this is
Nice.
this is like a guy. Yeah, very shy.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. You have to start.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see. Unfortunately, we're getting pretty close to the end. I'm trying to find. I have a big list of questions here. I'm trying to see what I should ask. So, I guess. For this year, have you made any big goals for what you want to achieve with your art, or
This year?
yeah?
Yeah. It's been really amazing. I really couldn't be more. I don't know. I always think about the future. I try to plan things,
Mm-hmm.
but this thing is from another world. Absolutely, yeah. I did the mural for Warby Parker.
Mm-hmm.
I did a mural for Apple.
Yeah.
I'm doing a like huge campaign. They gave me like a client in US that I cannot tell. Yeah. Welcome to the US.
Nice.
But they gave me like the whole brand to do. Actually two. But one, they gave me freedom. Absolutely freedom. So I did like 45 illustrations, or no, 60 illustrations for them
Wow.
on like 6 months or something like that. And they were like, approve, go weirder, approve.
Wow.
And it was like, really? This is great. So commercially, it was so rewarding. You know, like, okay, my style, it doesn't have to suffer any changes,
Mhm.
big changes, all this. And that was amazing. And it was almost without brief. It was like, okay, this has to be joyful. This has to talk about two people in a coffee place. So it gave me the opportunity to create a lot of
Wow.
stuff.
And where those all these illustrations that you're making, when you say you make 45 or 60, do all of them get released, or do the clients only release?
Oh
part
no,
of them?
I did a bigger number. No, I did
Oh.
like for this 60, I maybe did like 200.
Wow.
No, yeah, I
To
feel the
final or
sketches
like in between?
in between.
Okay.
No, final will be those ones.
Okay.
I think the way that I try to work is to start really hard. So
Mhm.
if you ask for one, I'm gonna give you 5.
Nice.
But if you ask for 40, I can give you, I don't know. I'm not good at math, so let's just say I'm not gonna give you 200, but I'm gonna try to give you 100. You know, like
Yeah.
double or
Wow.
triple. I try to give you options. Sometimes you could see the repetition on the idea, but it's a different kind of composition.
And do you do it just so that you can like be a better, like a not employee, but like a better artist to work with? Like you just try to stand out in that way, or why?
I think there's something around volume that is nice to see on branding. You know, it's
Mhm.
like small differences make a different image,
Yeah.
for sure. Also, to work with a brand or with an agency, it's such a complex matter, but I feel that you have to give them the opportunity to have a conversation,
Hmm.
and for that, you need to put the work. It's
Cool.
like,
That's
they
very
can give you
interesting.
feedback, you know, but no, everyone is really good at feedback.
So it's better to actually see it and point
And it's
it
better,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's better actually see it. So I know that sometimes I try to give you range. So it's maybe it's really fun, maybe it's edgy, maybe I don't know. It's just proper, correct, safe. So
Cool.
I try to give you like a bunch of options. Also for me, the first thing that I do, it's very obvious. It's like dumb, obvious idea. The second one, kind of like that. Maybe the day, maybe on Monday I am great, I feel happy, and I do happy stuff. But then Tuesday, I see something really weird on Instagram. I feel like shit, and I do like, I don't know, like something like a proposal, like it's really weird and
Yeah.
abstract. And then I put all together. I try to give. I love to do mood boards and big proposals. And sorry,
we're
there's
being
a guy
distracted in
Uh,
here
yeah.
in the
The
studio.
audience is amazing.
Yeah,
Here.
the audience in Hastings.
colorful
here.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah, they really
She was
did.
so funny. Sorry, sorry, I got lost. But yeah, what I try to do, I think I am, I don't know if to say professional,
Yeah.
but I've been working so much in this industry, like in advertising,
Yeah.
that I feel that I work how they like them, like how they
I guess
like it.
you
It's-
figured out this really good process for it at this point now.
yeah,
right?
it's like I'm very aware on how the briefs should work, on what they are looking for, or I try to be,
Mhm.
and I just work with that to get a better result. Also
Mhm.
for me, I feel that if I present you 100 ideas, it's gonna be easier to go to a second round
Yeah.
and say, okay, we trust on this guy because he's putting his heart on this. So when he says this illustration should made it, and this is great, and this is not so great, how they should feel with me and all that.
Yeah.
I just put more work. It's like, okay, I want to be really transparent with you. I love this project. I'm gonna give you a triple,
Man,
and they are like, okay, amazing.
they
and
must like you.
I really try hard. Well, the other thing is that I was working as an animator, and as an animator, you really have to deliver
Yeah.
with assets,
Oh yeah.
and you are kind of like a robot, and it was like that. And this feels so free for me.
Mhm.
It's like it's illustrations,
Yeah.
and the feedback is like, I like one, second one, I like the five, I don't know, whatever. They do a selection, and that's it. I don't
Wow.
have feedback, and yeah, I don't know.
That's-
I
you-
absolutely love it.
You're giving out some secret tricks of the trade here right now. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you should do a lot of options on the first round. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Go crazy.
Go crazy with options.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
with crazy options.
I-
Or choose one. I don't know.
Yeah.
The other day I was reading a book from Paul Rand,
Mhm.
the famous designer,
Yeah.
and he says that you should do one because, and it's great. You should do one because that's which one it's better. Like your favorite. That's the one, and the rest ones are kind of lousy. And they're and if you think it and the process is it's well done and it's blah 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 blah, you should have one single option that is perfect, and that sounds amazing. And I was like, okay, I do 100. I am so bad at this.
Hey, but clients like choices, so good luck making one when they ask you for 20. So
Oh yeah. I think if
you're
you are
not getting
Paul
that
Rand,
job.
I think if you are Paul Rand, you
Exactly.
could do one. But
That's why
if
it
you
only
are-
applies to him.
If you are Sebastian, you should do more. Just try.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, but we're running out of time. I'll have to run out of here. But thank you so much for
No, thanks
doing
to you.
this. It was
This
so
was
good.
great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks
man.
for
It's been
being
great.
so honest and sharing so much good
no,
info with
please.
us.
Sorry for my broken English.
No,
I'm
not at all,
trying.
man. Hey,
So,
it was-
thanks, man.
Yeah, I think we'll just have to keep going. I'm curious. Yeah, I got lots to learn from you. This is really cool. Actually, I got one more question I always ask. What advice would you give your younger self before you went to university?
It's a car, dude. Just okay. No, yeah, I know. Do exercise. Dude, do exercise because
Go.
30. Yeah, yeah. I really work. I work a lot.
Yeah.
I work a lot, and nowadays I don't work a lot. I work like 6 hours a day or 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I was working double shift, like
Wow.
2 jobs. Like
Wow.
I'm gonna do 3D with this guy, but I'm gonna do animation with this guy, and that felt right
At the time.
at the time.
Yeah.
That felt right at the time, and I was learning and all that. But I think that created like a monster. I feel bad when I don't work every day, or I don't work like 10 hours a day. And it's been a process to let it go. Like, okay, this is fine. I'm getting older, and my health suffered a bit.
Mm.
Like neck problems and back problems, and
It's tough to know this balance, right? Like,
yeah,
you're
and the
learning.
balance. Also, I am really passionate about my job, but life is not only about that. My wife,
Surprise.
wants to have a life, and I love all that. But if you are just used to work your ass all day, all night, all time, and you don't know how to do the rest of the stuff. I don't know
also
how
don't
to
know how to
enjoy
live.
a meal, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. You become a robot.
Man.
So I will say to that guy, just chill a bit. You're gonna get there, but it's gonna take just a couple of years more. Don't kill yourself, and do exercise. Yeah,
That's a good one.
It takes you to a better place.
All right, tell people how they can find you.
You could find me putting Sebastian Curi. I think you should get it in Google.
Yeah.
My Instagram. Love
You
my
will.
Instagram. Seba Curi.
Yeah.
Thank guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sebastian, thank you so much. Really
Thanks, man.
appreciate it.
This was great.
All right.
Beautiful
everyone.
day in Vancouver.
I know, we got distracted just a little bit. Man, all right. This is really good. If you want to learn about Creative Theory Podcast, just go Instagram, Facebook, say hello. If you know some cool artists I should talk to, just send them my way. Otherwise, have an amazing week. We got to run it here. Bye-bye.
Bye.